Crowe,
Here.
Barb Hart,
Here.
Andrew Dewar,
Here.
Ron Mitchell,
Here.
Danielle Kraus,
Here.
Steve Roundtree,
Here.
Catherine Vallon,
Here.
Scott Papich,
I'm here.
Trustee Corvalin. All right. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. I'm popping into my correct drive here. Do we have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, do we have any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And Kate, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Steve Crowe,
Yes.
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewar,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
I'm sorry, I missed the item.
it's
Oh,
the
sorry.
consent.
I'm sorry?
It was the consent.
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great, thank you. Is there any public comment on any non-agenda items this evening? Hearing and seeing none, I would ask to move into the first informational item, which is the Visitor Center paving. And I believe that Kate will be presenting this.
Yes, and Miranda will tag in because she was hopeful in finding this historical information so that we could have this discussion tonight, or so that I could update you this evening. It's not a discussion item. This is information. At the NDDA board meeting on February 13th, 2019, the board approved town staff's application for the Transportation Improvement Program and agreed to fund $69,000. Town staff came back to the board on May 15, 2019, and the board voted to approve an additional $70,000 for a total of $139,000 to fund the project. These funds have not been accessed and are now needed for the 2023 budget. Attached, you will find an AIM and owner's project requirements prepared in January 2021 that notes that the NDDA has already approved the $139,000 and fine it for repaving Jefferson and the Visitor Center lot, and this will be added to our 2023 budget. The attached AIM and owner's project requirements lay out the history of the Transportation Improvement Program and the funding, and more information could also be found at the link for the meeting minutes. And so, this item, it will be added to the budget for 2023, and there will be moving forward. So if there's any questions that you have, I think Miranda would probably be the best person to answer, but I'll try to field if there's any questions that you all have this evening.
Great, thanks, Kate. Do we want to just go around the board and see if there are any questions? I realize this is an old item that's just kind of being brought back forward to get a resolution to it. But maybe we can just go around and start with Steve Crowe.
Yeah, thanks, Barbara. I remember all this stuff because I was a board member through it. And it's just very rote. So I think I would just say, yes, let's vote for it.
Thanks.
To approve it.
Great, thank you. And Ron Mitchell.
Ron, I had to mute you, so you're gonna need to press *6. There was a lot of background noise.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I have a comment. I'm for this. I just want to know if on the maps it doesn't show Jefferson Street with the sidewalks. Is that included or is that yet to come?
so that's not a part of the TIPS project. So, but your contribution here is to pave Jefferson so that it's no longer dirt. This is a heavily trafficked roadway. And even though there are no sidewalks, just in order to better connect the area, we feel it's best. I think the feeling at the time in which we asked for money was that it would be appropriate to pave that area, that street, along with the visitor center parking lot.
Okay, that's fine. I got it.
Great, thank you. Steve Roundtree.
No questions or comments.
Thank you. I see a call-in user. Oh, no, I see Tanya. Tanya, do you have any questions or comments? I know you've just kind of joined us.
No, I know we can't wait any longer on it, so I'm all for it. I'm curious though, when is that project still happening, those sidewalks, or has it been tabled indefinitely?
No, it's happening next year. We will release the request for proposals for contractors end of this year. We've told CDOT we will complete the project by the end of next year.
And were we sticking with Pelletier's plan that had a loss of like 6 or 7 parking spots, or were we able to recoup any of those? Do you know?
No, that is the plan that was submitted and what we need to continue forward with. I think I would love, and Emmett would agree, that we'd like to talk about developing more spaces on the south side of First Street, south of where Kathmandu is, where the real estate building is. We could recoup those parking spaces there, but as the TIP project stands now, it is with the loss of parking spaces.
Okay.
And it would be too late to amend the site plan.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And Miranda, can you answer? Because I listened to a lot of these meetings and I don't remember that actually being fully approved for the sidewalks and the loss of parking spaces. I remember that being something Chris was working on when he was leaving, but I don't remember an actual approval. So can you tell us when that was?
I'd have to go research it, but the site plan was approved as a part of the OPC process. And the site plan does include, I don't know if it was very specific conversations about the loss of parking, but the site plan, because of how it bumps out in front of Town Hall, naturally creates the need to reduce parking spaces. And that is occurring because the current sidewalk is on private property and they no longer want it to continue there. So we need to pull it out south to have it on town parcel. And then that's why you're losing parking spaces.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Scott Papich.
Well, this is news to me as a person who's just joined the DDA in the last 5 or 6 months. And when I first read this the other day, I have to say I had quite a few questions about it. I'm disappointed to hear that we're going to lose parking spaces. Right now, I think it holds maybe 40 cars, give or take 1 or 2. I guess my first question, does anybody know if this $139,000, is that just a part of the budget for this, or is that the entire budget for this project?
That would be the entire budget for repaving the visitor center lot in Jefferson.
Okay, do we know, I mean, is that a reasonable or competitive cost to do a lot this size in a street section like that?
Yes, I talked to Emmett about that this morning and he feels that that is appropriate for Because I think his intention, because before we realized that the board had already approved this, the DDA, we were looking at $50,000 for the visitor center lot
Yeah.
alone. So adding in Jefferson at a total of 139 is, he says, is definitely enough to complete this project.
Okay. There's signage that's specified in this project. Is that already accounted for in our wayfinding initiative? Do we know?
You're talking that when the DDA approved it and had that stipulation that they wanted the signage?
No, I'm wondering, I mean, I know that there's some signage involved in this repaving project. I'm just hoping, I guess, that it's maybe already accounted for in our wayfinding. Does our wayfinding plan account for signage at the visitor center parking lot? I'm sure it does. So maybe
Scott,
there's,
this is Steve Carell from the Wayfinding Committee. And yeah, I can, I'm wondering which exact signage, if you noticed on the plan, what it was, because all I'm aware of is a kiosk, that we're planning to place there most likely, but we haven't gotten, totally final on that. But not as far as any other signage. But is that what you were thinking of, or?
no, I just remember when I read this the other day, it discussed signage. And I just think that we should be on the lookout. There might be an opportunity for us to maybe, there might be some redundancy between.
Yeah, for
VC
sure.
parking, and if there is, then there's an opportunity for us to save a little taxpayer money. I'm wondering if we could try to also make a point of employing or contracting some Nederland businesses or local individuals in the implementation of this project. I don't know if we can. I just think it's something that we should try to do if we can going forward.
Are you talking now about paving the visitor
I
center?
am, yeah. We're still on that initiative, right? So I don't think that's really a question. It's just a comment that I hope that we can try to do that going forward, because this is, among other projects, this will be a sizable project. And do we know how long it'll take to do this? Is this something that is like a couple of weeks, or is it more like a couple of months?
So Emmett's not here. I don't want to speak for him. My recommendation is bring this back as a discussion item for logistical conversation. Tonight, we just wanted to let you all know that this is being added to the budget.
Okay.
But I think I'd rather have him here to speak to his thought about the project itself. I know historically when the DDA has contributed funds, you wanted to use a third party. Emmett's ask has always been to work through him. So I'd like to just have, maybe if it's okay, Barb and Kate too, just table this logistical conversation for later.
Okay. And thanks for indulging me, everybody. I know I've got a lot of questions on it. It's just the first time I've seen it. So I appreciate your patience.
Scott, I did put in the chat the link to where the current plans are for the transportation improvement projects. And I'm always happy to jump on a call to get you up to speed on this, or Barb and Kate, we could just have a discussion item where I get everybody up to speed on all things TIP, since it's been a while.
Could I ask Miranda,
I think that sounds like
where does the sidewalk on private property and the perpendicular parking fit into this?
So this here, I'll pull it up right now. So and this is Town Hall here. So the current sidewalk, I don't know if y'all can all see this, but the current sidewalk is a little bit further north right here. We're having to pull it south because this is private property. And by doing so, we're pulling it onto the parking spaces that are in front of Town Hall and Ned's, which turns this into temporary parking, delivery only. This is where you're losing the spaces. But what we'd like to do is talk to the DDA in the future about, this is what I'm talking about, Tanya, is gaining the spaces back over here and then some through a different project. Because this here, that is grayed out purple, is not a part of the current TIPS plan. This is proposal for the future to make up for the loss that's over here.
Can I just ask a quick question? So Miranda, this image that you've got pulled up, all of the I mean, I realize the parking lot is bigger than that and what's shown as purple, but is the purple just indicating new paving? Or is the new paving obviously the bigger area that is all of the visitor center lot, Jefferson, West First?
Paving the visitor center in Jefferson is not a part of the TIP. The ask of the DDA was to basically supplement and provide that kind of match support because, you know, of course, it's gonna get pretty teared up, is to provide that support in paving this area. So this site plan is not going to reflect any paving operations. This site plan is solely for sidewalks and to show where parking will be better designated. And this also includes the parking on the south side here, even though it's not purple. That parking all stays. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Andrew.
Well, no, that's okay. I mean, I guess I don't, if I could ask a couple more questions, if no one else wants to jump in right this second. I guess, is there anywhere where we have a approximate square footage of the total paving area that's being proposed that we're funding with this 139,000?
I would have to go back and look if Chris did that in his original proposal to you all when you approved it. Not in this site plan I'm showing you, no.
Okay, just a couple of things that I've learned about paving in my career is that, you know, generally paving is done in, you know, we want like a 6-inch thick bed of paving, and that needs to be done in 2 3-inch lifts. And, you know, based on 2 3-inch lifts right now, or as of 2 weeks ago, a going rate that I got for a parking lot was about $10 a square foot. And that was if the subgrade was prepped and, you know, not a whole lot of work was needed to be done. So I would kind of be curious to see what the budget breakdown is of demo, haul away of spoils, subgrade prep, square footage, you know, and that just so because I may be just overthinking it, but I'd love to just from a, you know, yellow pad, make sure that at least it seems like the math works. So that's my feedback.
Yeah, you know, and I apologize for not asking Emmett to be here and I guess I wasn't prepared to go into this level of detail. I think that's why, you know, I do propose having us come back because, you know, clearly there was we forgot that this had happened. So I'm glad we found it, that there was a commitment, but yes, there's more logistics, more agreements, more things we need to talk about of how the NDDA's funds are going to be used for this paving. I think really the ask here, or the informational item, is just to keep that financial commitment to repave, and then let's work through expectations and logistics when we get there.
Yeah, I guess as long as what we're saying is that we're committing to a certain amount and not necessarily an open-ended, we'll repave the whole area. By the way, we forgot that there's really another 370,000 in costs needed to do it.
So the town has set aside funding for paving as well. So sure, if there was an additional need, I think that if the DDA provided the 139, then town could pick up the remainder. But Emmett feels very confident that that is enough to do this. That, you know, especially if we can move forward with our team doing it. You know, there's obviously a cost savings there in doing and having our team do it. And so, no, I'm not asking for more money. And I guess I think that's it, Kate, if I can be so, we're not asking for anything right now. I mean, these are funds the DDA already committed. You know, I think what I don't want is for you all to remove them. I think we're
no, and I don't want to remove them. I guess I support it, and I just am, you know, from a like wanting to say like, hey, can I just look at like the current estimate of
Sure.
the thing? That's all. I
Yeah.
guess
we
that's
can
the simple question.
Yeah, and I think ultimately when we get to that, of course, we need to develop the sidewalks first. And so we're pretty far out from even talking paving, but I know what your ask is totally understandable for us to have a plan for how to use 139,000. That is not, we can comply with that. We can bring that back. It may be a little premature to bring it back, say even next month, since we have to do the sidewalks first. I guess maybe my ask would be, once we know the contractor's been set and we're full steam ahead on tips, that's when we start to talk about the paving project.
Yeah, I just, want to make sure that, like, for example, there would be maybe, hopefully JDA is recommending a soils engineer and there's, proctor tests, and that we're going to make such a, I want to really see this thing succeed and
Yeah,
this be a really great new paved surface that is adequately funded. So, sorry to kind of go off track there, but fully support it, and would love to kind of see the breakdown and just understand that a little bit more.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, is there support in doing so? Kate, if I'm overstepping, let me know. Is there support in doing so once we at least have the contractor set and we are in execution phase of the TIPS grant? Or would you ask for that sooner?
Well, I mean, just looking at the size of this project, and I don't know what the dollar amount of town funds are set aside, but I guess
It's $1.5 million.
1.5 million. Okay, so I mean,
But that is not for paving, that is for sidewalks only.
Wait, so I have a question. The sidewalks are 1.5 million, but the paving of those two areas is only 150 or whatever.
So it's just this, yeah, it's the street and the visitor
Why
center
is the
lot.
sidewalks so much more money than paving
Well,
the
it's
streets?
all the components of the sidewalk, which includes moving electrical poles. It also includes the EV installation over here. So it's more than just the sidewalks, but yes, the sidewalks is the bulk of this grant.
And that money's all just been given to us. We didn't have to match anything, or how much are we matching on that?
We originally didn't have to match, and then they later came back and said we needed some sort of match, which is where the DDA's original 70,000 came into play. That their commitment, the DDA's commitment at the time to provide funds for reef paving satisfied the match requirement. And
Okay.
then we later had to come back to ask for that additional amount to finish the match. And that's all outlined in Chris's OPC and the aim of how that all came to be and why the DDA ended up with a financial commitment of 139,000.
Got it.
Thank you. And Miranda, I just wanted to add real quickly that if you look at the proposals that we talked about over the past year or so on this, it's a set amount, to address Andrew's concern. So it's not like we're saying a percentage of anything that was initially, but then it was locked into numbers. So, basically if the money doesn't cover what town was planning to, then town has to make up, some way to do that. So I just wanted to address Andrew's concerns about it.
right. I'm just, for example, thinking of what Big Springs cost, and
Striping and
there's stormwater, there's drainage, there's engineers, there's curb and gutter, paving, unforeseens, etc. And it seems like the numbers should work, but it'd be great to just see that estimate breakdown to make sure that we don't. I would hate to see town get put in a position of like a substantial shortfall that we could just yellow pad or get. And I realize, Miranda, you're saying that's we're so premature from that point, and I get that. I think my biggest feedback is right now, having worked and gone through some of the Big Springs project and costs and so on and so forth, that wanting to make sure that everybody's set up for success. So I think you guys hear me. That's all I've got.
Great, thanks, Andrew. And let's see. Any questions or comments? Not sure if she's still there. I think she's still there. You might have to unmute yourself, Kathy. There you are.
Sorry, I didn't hear you say my name. Yeah, this is from before my time too, so actually I've been very curious and listening. And thank you, Scott and Andrew, for asking the questions and bringing up the points you did. But that pretty much answered the ones that were popping to mind for me, and I kind of stand with Scott on the, if it's at all possible to keep a contract like that with someone local, I'd love to, see that. Either way, so far I'm in support of this and no other comments.
Great, thank you. And Danielle, do you have any questions or comments?
I am also new to this. I'm happy to see it come up. This is exciting. And I'm looking forward to seeing it develop and go into completion stage.
Great, thank you. Just trying to run through the list. Have I missed anyone? I don't believe I have. Sorry, it's kind of stacked weird on my computer right now. I just have a couple quick comments as well to add to it. I kind of agree with Andrew and Scott that I would like to see this put out to bid for local contractors, as we did with Big Springs, and realized that that was the best case scenario for us. I also feel like we need a little bit more information about this. Obviously, we have to carry it forward in our budget, but I just feel like there's so much that I don't remember being approved. I would like to kind of know the dates of approval through the BOT and the DDA over the last couple of years. I have been on the DDA for a couple of years, and I just remember this being discussed, but never being approved, that specific design was approved. So I would love to see that come to us in December as a discussion item.
Barbara, this is Steve Carell. I just wanted to comment that I don't think it was or is in the DDA's jurisdiction to like approve this whole plan. It was Chris Pelletier was bringing it around to all the different boards for input and all. But I might be wrong, but I thought that probably only the BOT has jurisdiction over, approving or not approving a certain plan.
That is correct.
And I remember it coming to the DDA and him asking us about it, but I don't remember it having final approval from the BOT. And if we can get that information, I mean, we talked about possibly losing some parking spaces, but that was right at the time Chris was leaving. So I just want to understand better when this happened and exactly what was approved. And make sure that we are offering it to local contractors as well. So that we're getting competitive bids from others on the project. So those questions remain unanswered in my mind.
Yeah, I agree, Barb. I was actually on the BOT. I remember it coming up. I don't remember the actual approving of it. I think there was always still hope of, negotiating with the owners of the Neds or whatever. But, my memory's not good. So I would, when she comes back and give us the whole spiel, I'd love to get the minutes from that meeting also as part of the agenda.
So move to make this a discussion item on the next meeting. We don't have to move it. We just have to have a nod of 4. Is that correct, Kate or Miranda?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Although you talking next meeting, or I thought you wanted to do it more as you get closer to doing it.
No, I think I'm happy to bring it back if you're looking for historical information on the project. I'm happy to bring that back in next meeting.
That'd be great.
Great, thank you.
Quick question. Would it be worthwhile to have Emmett also available? Because we're just curious group with so many questions.
Yeah, I will ask Emmett too.
Okay, sorry for the trouble.
No, I wasn't prepared, but I will. Yes, I will have Emmett to be a part of the next discussion.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you, Miranda. If there are no other questions or comments and no public comment, we can move on to the next item, which is a Frozen Dead Guy Days update. And is that Kate?
Yes. At the request of the board at our last meeting, it has been confirmed that all funding provided to Frozen Dead Guy Days was expended on the cost requested in their grant application. This backup is on file and available should anybody like to review it. It was also confirmed that any unpaid bills are not affecting town or the DDA's ability to procure flagging services. Given this information, Frozen Dead Guy Days would like to keep the door open for future conversations. With their announcement to not hold the event in 2023, they do not wish to have additional conversations at this time.
Great, thank you, Kate. I don't have any additional questions or comments on that. Does anyone else have any additional questions or comments about that update?
No questions or comments.
I have a comment.
Okay.
They have specifically told me they don't want any help from the DDA.
What does that mean? Like financial help or like psychological help?
I had made the, I'm having feedback. I'm really in trouble.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had approached them to make a loan, and they rejected that idea.
Oh, to help pay off their debt. So they, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you. If there are no additional questions or comments, let's move forward to the next part, which would be the chair report. It's in the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments for me? Hearing and seeing none, we have a treasurer's report, which is also in the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Ron? Okay, we have the executive director's report. Kate, do you have any additional questions or comments?
No. Thank you all.
Thank you. And we have the town staff report. Did you want to highlight anything there, Miranda?
No, just something that's not in the packet there's the official election results are not published, but as of the unofficial election result, it does look like all of our ballot initiatives passed, which is sales tax, marijuana tax, and occupational tax.
Excellent. Thank you, Miranda. Let's see. Do we have a beautification committee report?
Next month, our wonderful gardener is going to start meeting with the greenhouse that we worked with last year, and getting ready to come present to you at the beginning of the year. So we are starting to have those conversations about gearing up for next year, and so that's really that. So you'll get more beefy update, but we've closed out the year, and we hope we've gotten lots of great feedback and learned some lessons, and that's part of what Judy will come and present when she comes to you all with a more robust update, and then talking to you about things that she would hope for next year.
Great, thank you. And do we have a Big Springs committee report?
Well, we were doing really well there with Excel Sturgeon Electric relocating the gas line. However, it appears that they, during the course of that, damaged a water/buffalo box and the water main. And Nikki may know more about this at this point. No, but I think as of like midday, a lot of emails were going out about that, Sturgeon needed to come up and get get on the repair because it was obviously done during the relocation, an accident nonetheless, but something that needs to get dealt with, and should be the cost of the contractor, i.e. Excel subcontractor Sturgeon. So I have not checked my email recently in the last hour to see if there's any. Steve, maybe you have heard any updates, but
No, not in the last, several hours.
okay.
But Brittany from the public water area was over toward the end of the day, and they ended up leaving the water on, so it's still running out. There's definitely a break in the incoming water line
Uh-huh.
coming into the building right out where that work was.
So
And so
they
it's
determined
flowing.
today that there's not a break. They said they're going to come check it in the morning and they need to repair your buffalo box, but they determined it was a false break, which means there's no break at all. They need to fix the top of the buffalo box because that's where your water is coming from. And then the majority of that flow you were seeing was water built up in the buffalo box that came from runoff. So you don't
Yeah,
actually have.
Miranda. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but it actually is. It's not runoff because while the time they had it turned off, it stopped, and we were seeing some other flow coming, from the back of the building. That's from the big springs, the actual springs. But when they left, they turned it back on, and water's running out a lot. And I left a message for Brittany just on her voicemail toward the end of the day. But yeah, there's definitely something broken there because when they were there and they adjusted it, then it had stopped. But when they put it back into whatever mode, it just all was flowing out at quite a rate again. So I don't think if it was just built up in the, backed up, it would stop and then start again like that.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Thanks. Yeah. And I left a voicemail with Brittany, so I was hoping in the morning they could come over and check it out.
Okay. So Miranda, you're gonna take point on communicating that with everyone? Because I just want to make sure that somebody's definitely on it and can verify one way or the other what's going on, and we don't overwhelm or have too many people calling too many different people. I'm happy to reach out, but I don't want to if there's already conversations going. So please let me know if you want me to call Excel and get with them, and specifically the project manager of Sturgeon who did this, and if we need to verify anything. But otherwise I'll just let you make your calls, Miranda, and let me know if you feel like you're needing help.
So Britt's already talked to the contact at Sturgeon's, and I would say no. I think it's just a matter. So I just sent her a message, and she just said that all three of them plan to come first thing in the morning. But no, I don't feel like anything else is needed. I think at this point, this is a utilities problem, and we'll take it from here.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Yeah. Thanks to you guys also for jumping on it so quickly today.
Yeah, that was I said the same thing to them. So thanks, Steve. I really appreciated the quick
Yeah,
response.
for sure. Yeah.
Great, thank you. That sounds like Big Springs. Do we have any committee or communications committee report?
Nothing to report with committee.
Thank you, Catherine. Communications, I had a tiny bit in my chair report, so that's updated. Performance space, Andrew, do we know when we'll get the survey back?
I need to follow up with Nathan. I confirmed with Kate earlier that it's both of our understanding that we've executed and given them approval, and now just waiting for JVA to get it scheduled and get work going. So obviously the sooner the better, but I will follow up with Nathan tomorrow to see where they're at with that. And you know, that's I guess as far as performance based, that's where that's at. So aside from it being approved and given back to JBA and waiting to be on their schedule to actually get work done and deliverables out, that's where we're at right now.
I believe they said it was 4 weeks. So that would probably put us about mid-December, and that's kind of conservative, giving more time. But it was something that they understand we wanted by the end of the year. But I don't think it will take that long. But we can certainly follow up to get that timing.
Great, thank you. And public art. Let's see.
There's a update in the packet. I don't have anything much to add to it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Danielle.
I gotta say the mural, it turned out great, right?
Yeah, it
We
did.
all did, but I know we wish the third member was in there, but it turned out
Yeah,
great.
totally.
Thank you. It is beautiful. I'm really glad to be a part of helping bring that to the community.
Great, thanks, Danielle. And wayfinding.
Yeah, there's some info in the packet. And if anyone has questions or comments or anything, we'd be happy to discuss.
All right. I don't have any questions or comments. Does anyone else?
I have a fast question.
Sure.
So I'm reading page 64. Want an app to improve the ability of visitors to find parking spaces, filter by category of product. It sounds like we're wanting this to also do the kind of work that's performed by, say, Google and Google Maps. Is that, and that sounds fine because I think that's what people are used to using. Is that the way that most towns do their wayfinding apps?
We haven't really gotten that far along to know how most towns do it. So initially, just from our meeting and thinking about what functionality we would want an app to do, that was sort of what we've come up with.
Okay.
But I get your point, like if you're come to a new place or something, or you're traveling on business and you want to find out what's near you, you can enter those types of things into Google Maps or some other map app. So that is a good point. And I think it's
Well-
not nearly as homey or, customized perhaps as our app could be, but it is essentially the same functionality
Yeah.
on the
Do you
spot,
know?
it seems to me. Yeah.
And people are used to that. They're used to seeing something that they can just touch on or click on, and it will show them a map as well as the address, as well as maybe some reviews and what people think about it. And we've seen that for years and years and years, right? I would hate for us to spend a bunch of incremental budget dollars to build something that somebody else already has turned into an entire industry. And so hopefully we can just, in our app, somebody can say, oh, that looks like something I want. They tap on it and it'll take them right to Google Maps, so that we're not building something that Google's already built. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All
Yeah.
right. Thanks for
Yeah.
hearing me out.
I would
Yeah,
just
totally.
say that the addition that maybe could be a plug-in or add-on would be some specific historical landmarks, pieces of information, things that give people perspective on the history of Nederland, not just a revenue ad based. I totally agree with what you're saying, Scott, but I just would love to see some history type things incorporated into that. That's all.
Yeah, I guess if we're going to build something custom, let's build something that doesn't already exist is where we're sitting with it now, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's noted in there also are some of the other things like what Andrew was talking about, that we thinking of having a like an art walk kind of guided tour and
Okay.
potentially, the historical artifacts and parts of Netherlands and buildings. Um, and yeah, so anyway, I think it's a, great point that not to build something that people can just do through Google Maps, but the other part will be sending people to where the parking lots are. And I think I don't ever use that feature, so I'm not sure if that's available on something like Google. But I think that has value, to get people to the parking spaces is sort of like the number one goal of wayfinding, I think. And so that could see being supported in the app. And then perhaps, for filtering for stores and stuff, that could be left to just people using their smartphones. But anyway, we're still in the early stages of sort of even exploring whether an app makes sense and what the functions are that we want and sort of issues that we want to help with or problems to solve. So it's good to have any feedback.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Sure.
If anyone else has any questions or comments, ask them now. Otherwise, I'm going to suggest real quick that we pop over to the covered bridge, which is a discussion item because Nikki is online with us this evening and can share that information with us. And I'm also going to hand the meeting off to Andrew at this time. He's going to finish it out as the vice chair this evening.
Thank you, Barb.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. I think this is my first DDA meeting, I think. So it's good to see you all. Probably you've seen you at other meetings, and if not, maybe just around town. So I sent you a request a while back, and I think you first heard about it from Danielle of the Cover Bridge's need for repairs, and we need to start thinking about repairing it before we lose it. The covered bridge is kind of an icon for Nederland, and I think possibly even more famous than Frozen Daga Days. I don't know, but at least lots of people know where it's at. The bridge has had no maintenance since it was built in 1980, other than a few minor public works repairs, some graffiti removal. I put in some new railings in 2017 on the south side of the bridge. Recently, Public Works did repair the threshold from the pressure fine trails up to leading into the bridge due to some serious drainage problems that have been happening on both sides of the bridge for many, many years. The wood roof it's fallen apart. If you look at it, it's probably gotten worse the last two great windstorms. The shingles are blowing off. The shingles are completely outdated and not even up to code anymore. The flower boxes, the structure, they're dried out. I did have the structure looked at. The engineer said that it was good. The hit that it took by the two different floods in 2013 and 2021, the bridge seemed to withstand that rather well, which is awesome. The north entry area to the bridge is used as that driveway for crosscut and the backside of the what is it, the co-op and etc. back there. Those bridge railings have been hit many a time. That is something that Public Works we can do the repair on that. My plan is to put in a kind of a concrete ballast end post so that when it does get hit, that the posts don't take such a hit. And we then attach the railings to that ballast on the end. It would be nice though to have streets come in and or someone, if Crosscut wanted to have their own contractor come in and repave that area. That is why we're having so many drainage problems, is because that asphalt has just completely eroded to the point where it's not draining where it's supposed to. It's draining directly into the bridge. In my aim, I did talk a little bit about the history. The bridge was built in 1988, so it's not historical, which is kind of, I kind of wish it was. If it was historical, we'd have a little bit more leeway. We'd have some more grant opportunities, things like that. But it is a very popular piece of our trail system. So I did receive a lot of quotes on the roof repair. And you can see in the AIM where I said that there was one for 6,000. Andrew, that was the guy that you talked to that was doing Blue Owl.
I thought those
And
more
then-
like 8,000, but in any case, yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
The email that I was referencing said 6, but maybe it was 8.
Okay.
No, I'm not
Okay.
sure. So I did get a quote from Dave, who owns Top Coverage Roofing here, local Nederland company. Dave also did the visitor center and would like to roof the covered bridge to match the visitor center. Dave's quote actually came in, I'm sorry, I misquoted in the AIM, because Dave's quote came in at $14,950. And then there was one more quote from Cape Roofing. And Cape Roofing's quote for the roof was $13,877.17. And that they would use, what did they call it? They called it a presidential shingle, which is it's guaranteed to hold up for a certain amount of years. And they provide a 5-year warranty with their work with Cape. One of the advantages of going with Cape is that Cape is a roofing and exterior company, and actually I got their referral. Andrew referred them to me, but as I was dealing with them, I noticed their signs are everywhere. They're all over town. They're all in Golden Gate. One of their guys lives in Golden Gate Canyon. Another one lives on South Beaver. So they're very, very familiar with the area. Like I said, they're a roofing and exterior company, so that they could do the roof and the siding all in one fell swoop. They talked about setting up not scaffolding necessarily, but almost like a window washer type setup where they would catch the shingles before they fall into the creek and be able to do the siding and the roofing at the same time. If we go with just a roofing company, now we're looking at having to get a general contractor to come in and reset up scaffolding and to do the siding. Cape's quote on the siding was $15,332.64. That includes the siding, a wood grain diamond coat. When he was talking about it, it sounded incredibly, it sounds just like what we need. It's going to last for a long time. It's got a 30-year warranty, so even if there's a teeny little scratch on the paint, or say we have to replace a flower box and it wasn't the same size, they'll come back 29 3/4 years from now and retouch the paint. So I am asking if the DDA would consider next year funding the roof and siding on the pedestrian bridge.
And I could just add and speak to a little bit about like where my, somewhat significantly lower number came from, which was, talking to basically a subcontracting crew, which would need, as was mentioned, a general contractor to, manage it, deal with the scaffolding, etc. I think if Cape, is prepared to do all of that, you know, that the presidential shingle, in addition to being like a high quality triple laminate shingle, it kind of has the most cedar shake look of all shingles, short of like a plastic composite Da Vinci tile shingle, which, you know, for our needs, I think I would fully support, you know, a company like Cape. And I think that roofing price, considering, you know, they're carrying all the insurance, setting up the, you know, whatever they need to prevent stuff from getting in the creek. And then as far as siding, I, you know, wasn't quite clear on the total scope, but if it's, you know, tear off and re-side of the whole thing, it's just, this is such a challenging project to get any contractor to get involved in, because it's over the creek. And like, you know, you gotta have somebody who's who's willing to say, all right, yeah, we can, you know, we can do this. This isn't impossible. You know, we'll build and we'll set stuff up. And it's, you know, it's, I'm amazed that you were able to get, you know, three quotes, and that both, you know, coming in that say around 14, given everything they have to manage and what they're using, that seems totally reasonable.
Also, I didn't mention the cost of the siding, that 15,300 number, also includes custom build 10 planters of cedar and then spray them with polyurethane. So we'd get 10 brand new custom built planter boxes. They would also clean up, take the trash, do all of those things. I think that this is a really good deal to save a really maybe not historic, but a landmark for our town. I think it is very important.
$2,000 in cedar right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not, but you know, for around $30,000 to save the bridge for another 40, 50 years, sounds like a deal to me.
I guess I'm DJ here, so let's go around the room. Tanya, would you gotta unmute?
I just wanted to thank Nikki for getting all those quotes and getting the ball rolling on that. Didn't we already put that money in the budget for this year? Are you asking for next year an additional amount? I guess I wasn't paying enough attention.
And
thought
I
it was
know
already in the
Kate had to
budget.
jump off to have a call, just to let everyone know.
Well, anyway,
Kate,
and then
are you talking about
another,
me?
oh,
Are you still there,
I
Kate?
can
Okay.
answer that question. The budget, this is not included in our budget because we didn't have an amount. And so that's why we did not know what was going to happen with this, if it was actually going to be try to make it happen in this year, because we started talking about this in July and August.
right.
So we were trying to see if maybe we could do it this year, but that's why it's not in the budget for next year. But we can still, you still have one more meeting, so we could still add it if that's the route that the board wants to
Gotcha.
take.
And
So you would have to move this item from
action.
discussion to action to make that happen.
Okay. But we've already kind of vetted the whole thing, and so
Yeah,
it's,
I could have sworn I thought we budgeted like $8,000 or $16,000 to deal with this.
I'm
And
actually,
Yeah,
I'm actually looking at the draft right now, and I think I see $20,000 budgeted for covered bridge.
yeah,
Is that, Kate, is that for something else on the covered bridge, or is that for?
Let me see. I have to check, because if that got added, I know that we wanted her to come back because we wanted to know better numbers, but let me check. Hold on one second.
my other question for Nikki is regarding the that little street that goes behind the co-op and all that. Is that town of Ned, or is that part of the buildings that own that own that?
It's actually Crosscuts property with CDOT right away. So
And
anything.
then it does it become then co-op's property and then Busey's property and all that,
So
like,
on and so forth. I'm not
I
sure,
got
but
it.
there is no town and Ned property. We have
So,
done
can we
maintenance.
ask them to think about, or to fix it, like a nice ask, but kind of like firm?
They have in turn then asked Emmett and I know they've asked Emmett in the past to pave that, and they've asked him to maintain it. Not consistently, just like on occasion, they'll be like, "Oh, it's really potholed out. Can you guys come down and do?"
It
you know,
kind of
put
sounds
some
like we
dirt
need to
back?"
send a letter to all those owners of that road and be like, hey, you guys got to come up with a plan. I mean, I'm just saying this off, I don't mean
Yeah, I
to
think
write
part
it.
of the ownership is also Roy that owns the
Right, Roy owns, and then
Yeah.
the Rustic Moose, the co-op,
Mhm.
the deli, the people who own the building that the deli rents, and
Mhm.
I don't know, it sounds like really complicated, but I could see how that's causing all kinds of problems.
It could, Tanya, this is Scott. You're making a really good point here that all of these businesses have a stake in what goes on with that road that goes down there.
Yeah, they park back there,
Sure
yeah.
they do. And so what we're really doing when we talk about this is we're starting to creep over into another project that's on our budget for next year called Riverwalk. So all of this stuff is connected. It's a very concentrated, important part of our town, from the covered bridge all the way down to, all the way down to what used to be the apothecary. And there's a patchwork of land back there. And I think as we move into next year, we're going to talk about what to do with that, right? If we're going to do anything with the Riverwalk. But for now, as far as the covered bridge goes, I think Kate is checking to see if this $20,000 we've got sitting in the budget is actually dedicated to this project.
I think so.
Yes, so I misspoke. That is how I was trying to get my history right there. So that is how we chose to move it forward, that we threw the $20,000 in there as a not to exceed, because we didn't have specifics about the costs, and you all, of course, still wanted to hear that from Nikki, like she's providing this evening. And so it is in the 2023 budget to do, there's an amount not to exceed $20,000 for the covered bridge.
Well,
Hey, that's good.
yeah.
I need 10 more.
I think,
Can you
Kate,
give
do
me
you
10
see,
more?
But you thought you were coming with nothing, right?
If I multiply it twice more, can I have 10 more $1,000?
Kate, this is Steve Carell.
Let
Were
it go
you
around,
reading-
but
were
I'm
you
for
reading
it.
the resolution
Everyone's,
from
please
the
speak.
prior meeting? Oh, sorry.
What?
No, yeah, I was just had a question for Kate. If she's on still.
I'm here.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Were you reading from the resolution there when you were saying that there was not to exceed 20,000?
No, I'm reading from our budget, our draft budget notes.
Oh, okay. But do you have anything
And
like,
so
did you
what
look
has
back
already,
at the resolution? Just because my recollection from there was only a discussion, I thought. I
no,
didn't know
there
that we
is
had
no
voted on it.
resolution. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's no resolution yet because the budget hasn't been approved. And so all that was in the discussion, you're right, Steve, was that we had said that there would be $20,000, and you had all said about not to exceed. You can change that if you wanted to, but that's where we are right now, is that you have $20,000 into the budget. Now that you have more information from Nikki, of course, you all can change your minds, but that was the way that the original rough discussion was, when there wasn't a lot of information to discuss.
Yeah, and I thought that
Is
part of
that
the
helpful?
discussion that I and a few other people had made was that we thought it would be nice if we split it with town for the cost. I'm pretty sure
Yes.
if you look at the meeting minutes, you'll
Yes,
find that.
that's correct. Was the discussion with that, was there was a desire for town to pay for a piece of this
So
by some members.
unfortunately, my parks budget has been slashed and slashed and slashed. And this next year, with parks being a new baby department, it's hard to convince some of the board members that it's important to put money where they don't know if they have a good return on their investment, so to speak. So that might have changed if the marijuana tax, well, if it looks like the marijuana tax passed. So perhaps that's changed. But as of now, I don't have the money in the parks budget at all. All I can promise is that we, as the Parks Department, can fix the railings and do some of the other work and things that need to be done, as we've done just recently, like with fixing the thresholds and things like that, and continuing to maintain the bridge. But I can't guarantee, yeah, Miranda had to get going, but I can't guarantee that town, as our budget is now, we had some, well, other priorities and things that came up that took precedence over more money for parks.
Got
So
it. 10-4. Let's keep going around the room because I think we can probably come to just, you know, an agreement, I think, pretty quickly here. Maybe I'm wrong, but so let's see, Tanya, and then we've got Steve spoke. Scott, did you already speak?
I'm all good. I didn't know if you were asking me, but I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right. Scott, did you speak yet on this?
I'm completely of the opinion that we need to maintain this bridge and we have
I'm
to have
sorry,
this
you were,
bridge.
I couldn't hear, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay. I am of the opinion that we need to maintain and have this bridge. I wish there was a way for us to do it for $20,000.
right. Okay. Catherine?
I'm also in favor of maintaining the bridge. I'd love to hear that the town thought as much as the bridge as we do, and that we weren't the only ones funding the repairs and, you know, I guess not all of the maintenance, but the majority of the maintenance of the bridge. I think that's short-sighted of the town. The bids, I mean, and I know obviously Andrew's got a better handle on what a current price is. I was a little shocked and taken aback to hear the prices quoted because I used to be very involved with someone whose business was roofing and siding, and boy, have prices jumped. Nonetheless, I'm in favor of trying to do what we can to see this taken care of and taken care of properly and for the long term. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Catherine. Ron?
I'm in favor of this DDA helping out. The one thing I'm concerned about that I think should be added is putting some aprons of some sort on both the north and south sides, because that's where the use is, that's where the pedestrians are, and those erosion problems are going to get worse. So if we're going to fund some, all, or part of this, let's include the apron areas so that the pedestrians using it are safe.
Okay.
we did
Steve?
just re-concrete the apron areas on the north and south entrance for about a 2-foot section on each side. It is my goal as well to completely fix the north side specifically, where it gets potholed and the asphalt's just falling apart on that side too.
All right. Steve Roundtree.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with the sentiment that we should fund the repair of the bridge. I mean, I think it's kind of a centerpiece in town. You know, it's an interesting one. Like it feels like kind of an attraction in town, kind of has some of the character of the downtown area, but I tend to agree as well that it would be fantastic if it wasn't just the DDA that was trying to fund the repair of it. But if no one else is going to fund it, I think it would be a misstep to not follow through and keep the bridge and at least keep it repaired to a point where the town could step up and take care of it, you know. So that's my perspective.
Thanks, Steve. Is there anyone that has not had a chance to comment on the bridge?
This is Danielle.
Hi, Danielle. Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. I am absolutely in favor of spending what we need to. Nikki, thank you so much for doing the research and finding more quotes. I really like the idea of approaching the business owners to help with the road. I think that the pedestrian access from that side of town to the other side of town is crucial to businesses and worth the extra $10,000 to put into it on top of the $20,000 that we've already approved. I personally have attachment to the bridge having rented from the person who built it. He also built the visitor center, Arthur Amaker. I just think it's really important to at least maintain it to where we can keep it. And this seems like the best time to do it with the best prices. And I think the roofing, that's awesome that they will put stuff down and help keep the water clean while they do it. That's beautiful. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Danielle. I guess, is there any public comment? I don't see any public comment. But just to recap, you know, I think going with a single contractor that can do both roofing and siding makes the most sense. I'm not necessarily pushing for Cape, but I realize that may be how that sounds. But you know, having one company, given liability and efficiency, etc., you know, I would support that. You know, the challenge of doing all of that work over the water and then throwing in some planters, you know, obviously would it be great if town could kick in money? Yes. I don't see that being in the cards. I don't know if we propose a, you know, I mean, I feel like this is really our, you know, one of our key responsibilities as the DDA, and the bridge. Yeah, you know, yes, there's some public works components of it, and yes, it'd be great if town could come up and fund half or etc. But I think we're really in a position to do this, and I don't know if, you know, making a motion to cover, you know, all of it with maybe a portion of it being a loan to the town to be paid back at some point in the future. I don't, you know, I'm not trying to stick anything more on town's plate because they've got a lot on their plate right now. I would personally, you know, set forth a motion to approve 30,000 in funding to get the repairs of the bridge done. But I would definitely want language on like pavement and aprons and who, you know, wherever that becomes private property and high traffic use, driving down there, like demarcation lines. But you know, my personal thing is if we can figure out those concrete aprons and you know, I would make a motion to increase the funds to 30,000 and get this bridge dealt with. I don't know if that's in protocol. I know
Is there a
who's
second?
on the phone.
I would second that. This is Tanya.
Tanya.
Well, first of all, let me just break in. It's Steve. I think this is a discussion item.
Discussion item. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Thanks,
sure.
Steve. Thanks for your
Take
help.
it.
Yeah, thanks for your help.
Okay, and I would just like to add a little something before we made a motion, you know, after it becomes an action item, if it does. I just wanted to, or maybe now, just as Andrew has another idea, you know, maybe it's something, because it seems like there's a lot of people in favor of getting this done tonight. Maybe there's some sort of a formal approach we could take where we fund it, you know, up to a certain amount or whatever that is, whatever the estimate is, with the inclusion that the town would be maintaining it from, you know, for 10 years or for whatever it is. So that that's the way they get some equity into it and sweat.
Great. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I have been maintaining it for the last 8 years by myself. But now I have a parks department, so I would definitely commit to, well, maybe not me personally, but I would commit the parks department to maintaining that bridge for the next 10 years.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to float that idea at least.
Question.
So the next steps would be that we would need to make a motion to move to action. And then if there was a desire to make that motion again, that would then at that time could happen.
Could I ask a question before we move on?
Absolutely.
We've talked earlier this evening about trying to use local contractors and local people to do some of this work. Are any of the contractors under consideration? Are they local or even nearby?
Yes. Cape is out of, like I said, they have one of their head guy who came to me from Golden Gate Canyon, and their second in command is on South Beaver.
Okay.
And that's who Cape came, and they do work all around up here. I don't know if their main office is out of there, but that's who the guys who gave me the quote, that's where they came from.
Okay, and the reason I ask is because, you know, we talk about our local economy and doing things for town. It's important that the businesses, that we do things for the businesses here too. But I feel like, you know, the people who are out there are swinging hammers and doing the work. It would be awesome if there are people who are from our community or somewhere nearby as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I was actually seeking those people out. So Cape is one that employs some of our locals.
Cool.
And the other one that I looked at who came in with the highest roofing quote, and that was roofing only, was Top Coverage Roofing. And like I said, he had done the roof on the visitor center. And so I actually have our, you know, who has business licenses through the town of Nederland, and I rolled down those lists and called those people in. So trying to get some of our local guys. I like it when our people are invested in our community.
Thank you for that.
Mm.
I move that we move this to an action item.
I'll second that.
Yeah. Do we need to take a vote for that? Because
I need to do roll for that.
Okay.
All right, Steve Kuro,
Yes.
Andrew Dewar,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich,
Yes.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you all very much.
So now it's become an action item, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to move
Yes.
that
So if you wanted to
we,
make,
I'd like to move that we fund $30,000 for the outlined repairs to the siding, roofing of the bridge and the aprons and protecting the waterway underneath, with the agreement that the town agrees to maintain the bridge for a minimum of the next 10 years.
I second.
Move to amend that be 30 years. Because it's been 30 years since it was built with no maintenance. Thank you.
All right, I second Ron's amendment.
All right.
And Andrew,
Steve Carell?
now, I just wanted to mention to Andrew as the chair, now there is a chance for any more discussion among the members before the vote, if you'd like. I don't know if anyone has anything they would want to discuss, especially because there was an amendment.
This is Danielle. Do we need to make clear that this is 10,000 in addition to the already agreed 20? And not 30,000 on top of the 20? I don't know if that needs to be clarified.
You can make that clarification.
Is that an amendment?
Be like a total, so maybe as Catherine said, if the motion is to approve a total of $30,000 in funding for the roofing and siding repairs and concrete apron repairs of the covered bridge, with the agreement that the town maintain the bridge and siding and apron for the next 30 years is, I think, the motion we're talking about.
Great.
Second that.
Any discussion?
I guarantee I won't still be working this down 30 years from now. So, in this situation, I don't know, maybe Tanya would know. Do I have the authority or anything to just say, yeah, we'll do that? Future Public Works, screw you guys, you're in for it. I'm not sure how that would work 30 years.
Well, this is what the board is asking for. So I don't think you have to say yes or anything right now. This is what the DDA is asking for.
Okay.
So you're not on the hook for this right now. It's not all to you.
Okay.
This is what the DDA is asking for and what they're requesting for this to move forward.
So I'll be a Walmart greeter by then, for sure.
You never get to retire.
So Kate, what you're saying is this is kind of like a counter proposal, and we're saying, sure, we'll give you the money. All we're asking is for it to not just lapse for another 30 years, right?
So after the budget is approved, each of these projects has to go individually before the Board of Trustees. So that would be in the information, that would be in the agenda item for the Board of Trustees, that is how the DDA is proposed to use the money. So at that time is when it would be discussed.
Okay, cool.
This is essentially a counter proposal.
Yeah. Hey, Nikki, quick question. Do you foresee that the aesthetics or the look of the bridge is going to change substantially or really at all after these repairs are done?
Well, specifically, I mean, it could, if we go with a company that's going to do something that, like a metal roof or something like that, then yeah, of course, it could. That's part of the reason Top Coverage's quote was really high, because they wanted to do a metal roof. That's what the visitor center is. However, the shingles that I had Cape quote me are they're the most fire resistant, up to code shingle that you can get, that look the most like a shaker roof. So what I'm trying to do is make the bridge look just like it is, up to code, ready to withstand the next 50 years. That's my goal. I don't want it to change. And I don't want to fight the change. That's
Sorry to interrupt. I know we don't really have an architectural committee, but I think somewhere along the lines, obviously, you know, we need to have the samples of the roofing and the siding and the colors approved before, you know, if this all goes forward and is funded and that, you know, there's a collective approval process of the shingles and siding and colors.
So do we have a final motion sitting on the table right now, Andrew?
Yes, there's a first and a second, but I need, given the changes, you could have more discussion
Sure.
and someone just needs to, Andrew needs to let me know if he was ready for me to call roll call.
Well, I guess, is there any other discussion, questions, comments?
Please repeat the motion.
The motion is to approve a total funding of $30,000 for re-roof and re-siding and 10 new cedar planters, along with 2 feet of concrete apron on each side of the covered bridge, with the agreement that town maintain the bridge roof, you know, said repairs for the next 30 years. And there is a review by the Board of Trustees of the finishes before the contractor can apply them.
Was there a second to them?
Second, let's vote.
Okay, can you please call the,
Are you ready for roll call, Andrew?
yep,
Steve Crow,
Yes.
Andrew Duart,
yes,
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Pappage,
Yes.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Thank you all.
yes. Now, thank you all.
So I will hop back. So we are done with the cover bridge item, and there was an item before that in discussion, and that is the aim for a grant application update. And so I will hop into that. At the Nederland Downtown Development Authority's regular meeting, October 12th, 2022, it was requested that updates be made to the grant funding request application. The updates were to stipulate that the grant is reimbursement based or direct payment can be made to vendors. The following edits are highlighted in the attached. I pulled out the exact language, but you can see in the attached application where it's highlighted and included. But the edits that were made were that they must include the NDDA logo on sponsor communication. A final report of actual funding usage is required, and that was previously in there, but we're going to be calling that out more clearly so that we are able to get that information a little bit easier from individuals that receive the funding. And then the final edit, the biggest edit, is all grants are made on a reimbursement basis. Funding is encouraged to be sought 2 months prior to the event. Invoices and check copies must be provided in order to receive grant funding. Direct payment to vendors can also be requested. And then it has my contact information. So the question before the board this evening is, does the board approve the updates to the grant funding request application? And if you do, the next steps would be to move this item to action and then a motion to approve or not approve or make any changes that you see fit.
This is Tanya. I have a question about the logo.
Yeah.
What do you mean
Yes.
about sponsor communications? You mean like emails between
So
you and
one of
the, go ahead.
no, one of the comments that we get is sometimes when we get requests after the fact to fund the event, we're not able to be identified as sponsors or have people know that our funding went into that event. And so that's one of the comments that I've received is making sure that our logo is on different communication, different signage that's appropriate. It doesn't have to be on
Flyers and
everything, but just
whatnot.
where it's appropriate, acknowledging that
So
we've given money, because
will you be
there's been times that
providing,
hasn't happened.
will you be providing like a PDF or some sort of easily
Yes.
manipulated
Yeah,
logo?
just like I did for Teens Inc., for
Yeah.
Ned. Yes.
Okay, great.
It's more just making sure that it's helpful for people to see like the DDA's work in the community. Like you've heard the
for sure,
conversations,
yeah.
Tanya. We're just trying to make sure people really see how active you all are and how much your money is out there in the community, especially this year. You've spent a lot of money, especially on events and that. So it's just acknowledging that.
Makes sense. And what's the W-9? I'm not a tax person. Is that just like their
Oh.
income tax stuff? Like,
No, that's just that's a form that everyone has to submit, and that if we pay somebody over $600, they get a form from us, and that's how we track that.
oh, okay.
So it's a mandatory tax form that everybody has to submit.
Okay.
And Kate, I had one possible recommendation for the application or just for your procedures on the back end is, where it says that you have
Okay.
to submit a invoice and a check for reimbursement, just to mention that it's got to be the front and back of the check. So it's not just like someone writes out a check and shows it to you.
Yes. Yes. I'll make
Okay.
I'll make that stipulation, but yes, I agree with that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I agree with Steve. I don't have any other comments. I support the updates to the grant funding. I guess we can go around the room. Catherine,
No questions or comments.
Danielle,
I am in support of this.
great. Ron,
I would like to see the board have the option to require that the applicant agree to us paying the vendors directly if we so choose. So I'd
Okay.
like to see that added.
so maybe a dual payee check requirement. Well, it says
No.
direct payment to vendors can also be requested on there, so.
Well, no, required by the DDA.
Required, okay, all right. Okay. Heard you. Scott?
I'm in support of this. I'm in support of this. I like Ron's idea of us having the option to pay directly to the vendors if we want to.
Right. I agree with that. My feedback is I would just amend it maybe to say dual payee checks to vendors can also be requested, because as someone who's been, worked with construction funding, et cetera, when trying to keep my own set of books and another entity's paying a party that I've hired, sometimes it makes things a little confusing. Whereas a dual payee check, for those who aren't familiar, it'd be, a check to, the roofing, let's say for the covered bridge, You know, both, well, no, that's not the best example. You know, a dual check payable to Frozen Dead Guy Days and to, you know, the flagging company, and that they both need to endorse it. And really it ends up at the flagging company. It's just it's a minor bookkeeping thing, and it's maybe a little bit too in the weeds, but it's really I don't really care either way. That would just be my only feedback. But let's keep going around the room.
Well, Andrew, I think that's a good idea. I'll stand with you on that.
All right. Steve Roundtree.
Yeah, no other questions or comments.
Can I visit back on that?
Yeah.
I'm in support of the idea that but I have a question, and this is just a question. You know, when you do the dual payee check, say a flagger then gets bumped by somebody in a car and now they've got a workers' comp injury. Did we open ourselves up to liability for their injury by being a dual payee check?
Well, not if
not.
the contract is being, you know, executed. So let's say, I guess, an event is put on by the Arts Fest, and the Arts Fest needs to hire flaggers. Like, we would certainly need to make sure that, you know, we would put in, I think, language that any funds received, you know, require any vendors to carry certain levels and minimums of liability and or workers' comp or vehicle or umbrella insurance if applicable. I think, you know, we can ask for, you know, certain vendors aren't going to have umbrella, you know, giant policies. Other ones will. But I think it's okay to you know, say that if it's a great question. I think that's more of a lawyer question. I play a lawyer on TV, but I think you could probably put something in there that, you know, any funding to,
Some kind of a release of liability that
yeah, something like
funding
that. You
does
know,
not.
we gotta, you know, again, this being a, let's see, this is a action item. So, Ron, what are your thoughts on that?
I think just requiring the event to have liability insurance is adequate. And if need be, we could ask them to put the vendor on as an additional insured.
Yeah, and maybe language that indemnify the town, you know, an indemnification clause to town.
I think that's standard, indemnify both the DDA and the town.
Yeah, yeah. So the motion, you know, maybe we approve the updates to the, I know we still need to go around the room, but we approve the updates, you know, pending some additional clarity on liability and dual payee checks. Who has not had a chance to speak yet?
I have a question. It's Tanya. I've
Yes.
already spoken though. So I just so say you have $1,000 grant from the DDA, but you're paying a promoter to organize the sound and music or whatever, like, you know, close to $3,000. Is the organization supposed to pay $2,000 to that group and then wait for the DDA to cut the other check for the $1,000? Is that what you guys are
No, I would
asking?
say,
Or can they just write the check for $3,000 and just show that check as like, yeah, we more than spent that $1,000?
well, I would say that if in the case where if the DDA requested a dual payee check, we would write a dual payee check to ABC Lights and Sound.
Yeah.
And, Festival ABC for $1,000, and they take that and they pay $1,000 to ABC Lights and Sound. You're basically making sure that the money that you give to the festival.
I mean, has this been a problem for this to be so? It just seems.
Well, it's a problem in the industry when what happens is if you give someone money,
Yeah.
to be used in a certain way, and they're counting on revenue to cover, certain costs, and they're under contract with, a couple of vendors, and the vendors perform, but the revenue isn't there. And like, it's a way of saying, hey, you asked a grant for, if we're asking a report of the actual fund, of usage and how the grant's going to be used and reimbursement, et cetera, I guess I don't see there being any reason why we don't just, why it's any more onerous to say, here's your check, here's your grant check to pay for whether it's flaggers or lights and sound people or, clowns or whatever,
Right.
So I'm
that's
guessing,
I guess in this case, in the situation hypothetical I'm showing, the promoter would then send a check for 2,000 to who they owe for sound and lighting, and then the $1,000 other check would be from the DDA. There'd be two checks written.
correct.
You guys would have to be prompt on that then, so that the vendors aren't waiting
Right.
around for that check.
Yeah.
We aren't usually the holdup.
Yeah, because usually, I mean, well, a lot of times you got to pay in advance for stuff, so that could work too.
so
Yeah.
in
And
most
also, Tanya,
cases,
this isn't the default mode. It's just Ron Mitchell wanted it to be added
Oh, I
as an
thought this was the
option.
default mode. Sorry, I
No,
thought
this is
was.
just added as an option to do it this
Oh,
way.
okay.
That
Sorry,
the default mode
I
would
was
be
just
that
thinking.
the vendors pay it and present us a cash check along with the invoice, the paid invoice,
so
and
I
then we
got you.
reimburse them.
what
Yeah.
what this addresses is if a vendor doesn't get paid. The scenario Andrew was setting up there was a vendor doesn't get paid because a festival holder doesn't have the revenue and they just don't pay the vendor.
And they
We
kept the
don't
money.
want,
Yeah,
and they kept our money, right? So
right. I gotcha.
that's what this avoids. The other thing that we have, the other mechanism is, hey, if you're going to hold a festival or you're going to have, wine tasting party or whatever it is, you have to show us receipts from who you paid to do your flagging, for example, before we pay you back. So we have now two mechanisms in this scenario that would prevent that from happening. From us sponsoring somebody for a specific purpose and then them not paying the vendor who is providing that service. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
And
Okay.
Tanya, there have been instances in the past where this has happened, not in recent years, but it has happened.
I'm just gonna run and fill up a water bottle real quick. If anyone wants to have any further discussion, I'll be back in like 15 seconds. Okay, sorry. Are we ready to make a motion on this?
Just a reminder, you'll first need to make a motion to move this to action
Okay,
to make any further motions.
okay.
I move that we turn this into an action item.
A second?
Second.
You want to take a roll?
Steve Carell,
Yes.
Andrew Dewar,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Catherine Valen,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Scott Papich,
Yes.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Okay, and before making a formal motion, public comment, I see Kathleen on the line. Kathleen, would you like to add anything? Can't hear you if you're talking. Or if there's any other public comment. Hearing no one. I would make a motion to approve the updates to the grant funding request application with an amendment that dual payee checks can be requested for vendors.
Second.
Second.
Andrew, should that be worded that the dual payee checks be requested by DDA?
I get whether that would be it's a great question, Scott, DDA or the BOT. I don't know who, this
My
is-
intent is just for the DA.
what's that, Ron?
My intent is just for the DDA
Just for
to
the
make that
DDA. Okay,
request if
so,
they so choose.
so, I motion to approve the updates to the grant funding request application with dual payee checks to vendors that can be requested by the DDA if they so approve. Was that clean enough or did I butcher that?
That's fine.
Is there a second?
Second.
Steve Carell,
Yes.
Andrew Dewar,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Valen,
Yes.
Scott Papich,
Yes.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
I will say that your final discussion item was from Barb, and I'm gonna have us move that to, or if somebody, I would suggest that we move that because I do think we need to have Steve Carell is maybe able to help confirm this, but I do believe we'll need to have a motion to move that to next month. But I would like to take her discussion item and have that for next month when she can be with us.
Makes
Yes,
sense.
I think we just make a motion to move that to the next
That's-
month's meeting.
That's what I thought. We would need a motion to do that.
I think so.
Kate, what is that item?
the monthly work session item.
Okay.
It's your final discussion item of the evening.
Okay.
I move to postpone the monthly work session agenda item to next month's meeting.
Second.
Second,
Second.
All right, I'll call roll. Steve Carell,
Yes.
Andrew Dewar,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus, Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
yes.
Scott Papich,
Yes.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Yeah, that wraps up discussion. So now, Andrew, we are on action items, which is 6.1. If you've got your packet in
Certificate of
front of you.
deposit increase resolution. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm chuckling because I think I don't know how many times we need to go through this.
So
why
this
has this
evening,
not
this
happened
is just
already? You know, I
because
guess that's just personally how I feel. What's going on?
we well, we can't do the CD until we have this resolution. So that's why it's before you tonight. The Board of Trustees, if I'll kind of recap for you. At the Board of Trustees meeting on October 18th, the NDDA's recommendation to increase the line of credit by $250,000 to a total of $500,000 was approved. To complete the line of credit increase, the DDA will need to submit to Sunflower Bank the following documentation: the resolution approving the $500,000 line of credit, which is attached, most recent meeting minutes, all minutes on the item, 2021 and 2022 budget, and 2021 audited financial. So all the other documentation is ready to submit once the attached resolution is approved. So you'll see attached is the resolution 2022-01. The question before the board is, does the NDDA board approve resolution 2201 to increase the certificate of deposit by $250,000? And you have the possible motion there. But this is the last of the paperwork, and this could not be done until the Board of Trustees had approved the transaction.
I think the only thing that may need to change, and Ron, you can let me know if I'm wrong, is that the interest rates have changed since we started this whole process. Are the interest rates
Yes.
correct?
So Ron's going to give an update on that.
Okay, so I'll let Ron talk about that.
I'm having to use both my phone and my computer, so I have to pause until my voice comes back so I can hear what I'm saying. The rates with the big, since we started this process 6 months ago, have changed 5 times. So the change, I think Kate has it. The certificate of deposit will carry interest at 2.5%, and the line of credit will be a half a point below prime. Prime is now 7%. They've given us a 10-day commitment to accept this offer with the rate for the line of credit to be 6.5%. I'm sorry, this is so jerky, but I hope you got it all.
No, that makes sense. You know, I don't know whether, like, we need to, if we're looking at a public document here, if we want, you know, how, I think if this motion could also include language to, make the rates proper, right? So I don't think we need to.
So the motion will need to include to have the rate change in there. I have already updated the document,
Okay.
but it was too late for it to be into the packet.
Okay.
So it does need to be in the motion, but it's already in what will be provided
Okay.
to the bank.
Well, let's go around the room. I've got Danielle.
I am in agreement with this. Thank you.
Catherine.
Pretty happy that if we're gonna do this now, we're gonna get a better rate.
Right. Steve Carell.
Yes, I'm in favor of passing the resolution.
Scott.
I have a couple questions on this. First, I would like to say that in the past, so this issue was presented a couple of times on September 14th and on August 10th. And in neither of those agendas did I ever see any costs mentioned. It wasn't until I actually talked to the person at Sunflower Bank who's managing this that I learned that there was a cost. So I'm disappointed that that was never mentioned. But my question is, I see here in this resolution, section 2 note, the cost of the line of credit will be 1% of the total line or $1,500. 1% of the total line could be as high as $5,000 for the cost. So do we know what will really be the cost of this? Is it $5,000 or is it $1,500?
No, that's not, that's old data. What we have now in the motion that I presented is the current offer from the bank.
That you presented, and what is that? Because this is, I mean, this was sent to me yesterday, I think. This is our agenda that we're looking at here, right? Page 64.
In section 2, you're saying, Scott, the cost of the line of credit will be 1% of the total line or $1,500.
But the total line of credit is $500,000, which would mean that the total cost would be $5,000. So what I'm asking, what do we?
Which is greater, yeah.
Well, it doesn't even say which is greater. It just
Right.
says. I mean, I can't support this the way it's written because it's completely unclear what our cost will be.
Unfortunately, I wasn't consulted in the writing of this. I was
So
just
what is
providing the data for it. We have 10 days. That means we'd have to have a special meeting to approve it. And then the rates will change again.
So Ron, what is
What's the cost?
The cost
Ron,
has
how
already
much is
been
this
borne. We've paid the cost with the first CD. The bank is making a very simple offer, and you have it in front of you.
So they do not need to pay, we do not need to pay $1,500 again or 5%. Is that what you're saying, Ron?
That's right. We do not.
Okay.
That's
quite confusing because the Board of Trustees believed that we did need to pay $1,500. That was what was discussed at the meeting. So if we don't need to pay anything, that needs to be clear.
I think the
Now,
document should be changed.
I was talking with the banker all afternoon on this, and if you want to pass it contingent to finding out that information, that would be satisfactory with them. And I think it's a legitimate question, Scott. I'll try and get you an answer to it. Well, but it's just going on and on and on and on. So I'd like to get it done.
I'm sorry it's going on and on and on, but this document it's ambiguous and it's not accurate.
I didn't write it.
I'm sorry.
This is the document that was provided by the bank, and this is what was requested. This is what was used previously as well, just for your information.
Well, let's keep, I guess, going around the room.
Let me finish my comment. I can't,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ron, but I can't support signing this document and approving it the way it's written. I'm sorry.
But I
That's
think
all right,
Ron's-
Scott.
Yeah.
We all have a vote in this, and the objective of this is not really the interest rate or what we're earning on the CD. The objective of this is to establish a line of credit that we can access that exceeds the actual collateral that we're putting up, so that we can leverage the money for major projects.
I understand that that's your objective, but I would hate for us to incur a cost of $5,000 or even an incremental 1,500.
I will
no
be glad to talk to him tomorrow
Okay.
and get you an answer to that.
Yes, Scott, would you, as Moran mentioned, be, if, so that we can get clarity, a motion that included being contingent on absolute clarity of costs?
I think that we should maybe say it's contingent on no additional cost
Other than what's stated?
other than
here?
what we've already other than what we've already paid, because Ron, what you're telling us is we've already paid this $1,500 cost to initiate this, that there is no additional cost. I think that's
And
what
it's a
should be
good,
stated.
Scott, I think it's a really good question, and I want to get an answer for it. So if you
Okay.
would allow this to go so that I can get the answer tomorrow, and I don't think it's going to break the deal one way or the other.
I agree with Scott that we need to be assured that this is not going to cost anything additional we haven't already paid.
Well, I can't give you the answer because I agree it isn't stated in the documents that the bank provided to us.
Well, if we could go around the room, Steve, if you would MC for a little bit, because I need to take a bathroom break real quickly. Steve Carell, are you okay to go around the room?
Yeah, sure. I could do
Thank you.
that.
Or would
Uh,
everybody like a 5-minute break, maybe?
Do the 5-minute break.
5-minute
Sure.
break, okay.
Okay, sounds
5-minute
good.
break.
Scott, when we have a discussion while he's gone?
Hey, Ron.
Uh, Probably by noon tomorrow, I can find out the whole story and maybe get a written paragraph and forward it to Kate, and then she can distribute. And it's possible, of course, that this lady was in a hurry. She was trying to catch a plane, and I sprang it on her at the last minute after I'd read the resolution, because the rates were wrong and they continue to change. And it might very well be that she has a fee tucked away in there. So
Yeah.
could we put an upper limit on it and then to say no more than the 1,500 that was quoted to the BOT? Would that suffice? Sorry, I'm getting the feedback and I just having a hard time.
If we've
Well-
already paid 1,500, then another 1,500 would mean we're paying 3,000.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think it should be either be written accurately, or it should say
Well, I'm very sure that the bank did not write that resolution. It has DDA information in the whereas section that the bank will not even have access to.
Okay. You know, I have to tell you, I mean, if this were an emergency, it'd be one thing, but it's not an emergency. And I just think it's a terrible practice to sign contracts that you know are not accurately reflecting what's going to really happen. I think it's a
I
terrible
agree with you.
practice.
I'm not in an, and it's a good catch on your part, and I acknowledge that. So I'm just looking for a workaround.
Just want to let everybody know it's been 5 minutes.
So worst case scenario, I mean, I'm only one vote, right? Worst case scenario, Ron, if this thing happened a month from now, as opposed to right now, with an accurate and an accurately written document, what's the worst case scenario? Is that interest rates go up another 3/4 of a point?
Yeah, that's probably the worst case scenario. But the other thing is, you're going to lose the confidence of the bank. They're going to want to know why we can't actually go. Now, maybe it's the bank's fault. So let me have a discussion, but why don't we set an outer limit that is the actually stated $1,500, and then if it has evaporated, well, we're in great shape.
But to Catherine's point, we've already paid the $1,500, and
Yeah,
you're the
but
person.
we're renewing it.
Now, there's a lot of ambiguity in what we're talking about here, and the way it's written. It's just bad practice.
Okay, I will get involved in the writing of the next iteration of this, if that's what we're going to do. But I don't think we need to do that.
We need the correct information to be so that the resolution can be accurate. That's the information that we need. We need the correct interest rate information that was provided, that was updated, but that's the information that we need in there. It's
certainly
to
the
have
bank
that
can
section be
respect
correct.
that-
Kate, who wrote this resolution?
I wrote it with I didn't have this information. I was going off the information that was provided to me, and that's the information that I had. So we do need, and then today you gave me the correct information, and I made that update. So we need that confirmed, and we need to understand about, well, depending on how the conversation goes, there'll be different next steps. But if I need to make sure that no matter what happens with the conversation, that the information that you provided me earlier today that I updated the resolution with is correct about the interest rates.
All right.
But then your conversation could potentially go bigger than that, but that's what I need to adjust that resolution to make it correct.
So there's the interest rate thing, Kate, that you're mentioning, but the other really big issue for me here is we've got ambiguity over what the cost is going to be. One of them says
Yes.
1%.
That
which
I
is,
understand that,
Right.
but I'm telling right now that's where I was coming from with what we had discussed before. You all's conversation can continue to evolve, but that's what I'm trying to make clear with Ron based out of what Ron asked me.
Well, if I could just practice, from what I've heard is that there's two important pieces of information that need clarity on this document. One would be updated interest rates, and the other would be that the cost of the line of credit being 1% or $1,500 has already been paid, and no additional cost would be incurred.
Yes, and Scott is right. That's not stated in the resolution, and he's entitled to have that in it. All I'm asking is that we pass the resolution with the contingency that no cost exceeds the $1,500 that was stated to the board of trustee, and it may be nothing. So I would amend that resolution, or make a motion to amend that we pass it contingent on finding that no cost for the line of credit will exceed $1,500.
Ron, even that's ambiguous because you said a few minutes ago that we've already paid the 1,500 and there is no additional cost.
That's what I don't think that's ambiguous.
Well, Ron, was that a motion? I'm trying to understand if that was a motion, Ron, or if you were just
Yes,
proposing
it was a
something to
motion.
discuss.
I'm sorry, I'm getting so much feedback. It's really hard for me to speak. It's a motion to accept the resolution contingent on finding out that any cost will not exceed $1,500.
But I think we need to say, like, if it's an additional 1,500 or what, that maybe that we could increase this line of credit as noted without any additional costs.
I move we table this until we can find out exactly what the rates, the costs, the fees, and everything is so that we know what we're agreeing to specifically.
I will second that.
All right, the roll is Steve Carell,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart,
Let me just ask, are we all up for like a special meeting within the next week to get this resolved?
Sure.
But what is the urgency of it? Like, why couldn't we bring it back at next month's meeting to finalize it?
Well, you brought it like 6 times now, and I don't know what I got to do to get this done.
Ron,
I'm very sorry this has come. I don't think there's going to be anything expense in $1,500. I don't see why you can't accept that amendment and go forward with that. There's just
The only
one
reason I
delay,
brought
one
that up-
after another.
The only reason I brought that up was that it sounded like the bank has extended a 0.5% discount on Prime if this is executed within the next 10 days.
That is correct.
Interest rates are probably going to go up in the next 30 days.
They are gonna go up, most of them.
And I don't see a downside to that, actually.
It probably moves in parallel.
Yeah. But it means we get more on our 250,000 in the CD as well.
I didn't understand that.
It
Say it
means
again.
we would get more interest income on our CD
Yes, we would.
if that happens,
And
right?
we have until the 1st of December to turn the other CDC over, or it renews automatically. So we have to make a decision. So that's, I started 6 months ago to because of that rollover provision. So Rander's right. If we can meet the next 3 days or 4 days and have this information, that'd be just fine. But just waiting another month is out of the question.
There's 21 days before it rolls over.
Ron, I have to say, I understand that you have been working on this for a long time. But we are talking about having the group sign off on a document that's either not understandable or it's ambiguous or it's inaccurate. And that's just irresponsible. I don't think anybody here
Are
wants to
you
do that.
willing to have a meeting in the next 4 days?
Well, Ron, do we have 10 days or do we have, I mean, as we talked about rates going up in parallel, do we really have till December 1st? And, do we have 2 weeks?
We have 2 weeks.
Before Thanksgiving, would that be a good goal?
Why couldn't we just have a half-hour meeting within 4 or 5 days? What's wrong with that?
I'm personally not opposed to that.
But there's nothing in this that's an emergency. Even if it's by December 1, that's not an emergency. That's 3 weeks away. So we can get this done.
What is your objection to having a special meeting for a half an hour within 5 days?
I'm going to be traveling for 3 of those 5 days.
Well, I've had a lot of personal things too, and I've been working on this. So what day are you not traveling? We could do this to your pleasure.
What's the emergency?
Thank you.
Well, I agree that the information needs to be clear on the document. And I know, Ron, that you've put a lot of effort into it, and I know we all want to get this done, and I absolutely agree with Scott as well on, just having it be pretty clear and plain language. I would like to get this done sooner than later, but I'm just, one member of a group, so I think we have to go around and, basically make a motion to bring this
So
back.
there is,
What?
well, the motion is on the table, Andrew. The motion is on the table. Catherine made the motion to table and Scott seconded, and Steve Crow voted yes, and we're on your vote.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna vote no.
Ron Mitchell? Ron Mitchell, do I have your vote? I think I might have, no, there he is.
No.
Okay, thank you. Danielle Kraus?
No.
Steve Roundtree?
No.
Catherine Valen?
Yes.
Scott Papich,
As I gotta say, with all due respect, it's irresponsible to sign a contract that's inaccurate. I have to vote yes to table it, even if it's for a special meeting in the next week or two.
Corbelin,
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused because I don't understand why we're paying fees to put our money in a savings bond. So I would like more clarification. I thought we were not getting charged anything until we pulled it out. And then of course we'd be charged interest if we took out a loan. So yeah, I guess I'm a little confused. So I would,
We are not charged anything until we
I mean,
take a loan.
we're being charged the 1,500 for when we take out a loan and then interest rates. I'm sorry, I'm just not
No.
following.
If there is a $1,500 charge, it's just for renewing the line of credit. And I'm not sure there is, but I'm saying
You
I'll
say we
check it
already
out.
paid
and
it once for the first line of credit. Okay. And you're looking to find out. I mean, I would be okay with what you said, Ron, is to approve it with the contingency, though it would not exceed the $1,500 we already paid.
Okay, then vote not to
We
table
need
it,
a new motion,
and
so I'll
we'll
vote
pass
no on
another motion.
this. I'll vote no on this and then set up another motion.
you voted no, Tanya, is
Yeah.
that correct? Okay.
So I make,
We have 5 no's and 4 yeses.
okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the CD increase resolution with the contingency that there is no additional cost other than the $1,500 stated in section 2, as well as accurate interest rates listed on the form.
Andrew, but Ron's telling us we already paid the $1,500, and he's telling us he has told
That
us.
was for the first line of credit. We're now
No.
going for a second.
It's in addition to the existing line of credit, I thought, and you've said tonight that we have already paid that fee, and there are no
Okay, the
additional.
first one, yeah.
So now you're saying that we're supposed to pay $1,500 again?
I'm saying I don't know.
We don't know. Okay. So how about if we say contingent on no additional fees? And if there are additional fees of any kind, even if it's just $1,500, we should know that.
All right, you have in the document a statement there was 1,500. So I want to clarify that, and that's what Andrew's trying to. It may be there, and I will be active in writing this so that, and I'll try and run it by you before if we have a special meeting, so that you're satisfied beforehand.
Ron, I don't need any special treatment. I want the work that's brought to this group to be accurate if we're asked to sign off on it. That's all I'm
I
asking.
think that's a wonderful
That's,
offer. Oops,
Please
sorry.
continue, Andrew.
You know, Scott, I would just have to say that I think, you know, if it's pretty clear on section, it's pretty clear on section 2 how this reads. And if, you know, if Ron misspoke or intended to say that the 1,500 had been paid for the first line of credit, and we're talking about a second line of credit, like I just don't want that to hold up, you know, the discussion, because I feel like this is the language that is been given to us is in section 2, the cost of the line of credit will be 1% of the total line, or $1,500, or, you know, not to exceed $1,500, and the interest rates will be accurate. You know, I'd like to see that language, and I'd like to have that be the motion.
Well, I will tell you that the 1% of total, actually, that's $5,000. And I hate to be, I hate to be hard about this, but I don't know why it has to be confusing or ambiguous.
Gonna
Why don't we-
clarify it.
Why do we agree to table it for up to 2 weeks while we get accurate information and know what we are passing?
I can get accurate information in about 2 days. I don't want to table it for 2 weeks. I want to have a
Well, that's not-
contingency that we can all agree on, or at
And we
least the
don't want to
majority.
sign anything that might end up being $5,000 on top of 1,500 already paid.
If it's $5,000, we're not going to do it. The
So
limit is $1,500. That's what we're asking as a contingency.
I make a motion to approve the CD increase resolution with accurate interest rates and a contingency that the cost of the line of credit will not exceed $1,500.
Second.
Okay, can you take a roll, please?
Steve Carell,
I'm just still confused about that motion. Andrew, is your intent with that motion that it's okay if we pay another $1,500 on top
Yes.
of the 1,500 that we originally paid? So could we just
Yes.
amend the motion to include that clarification?
Okay, I make a motion to approve the CD increase resolution with accurate interest rates, and in addition to the original $1,500 paid for the first line of credit, a contingency of no more than $1,500 for the second line of credit.
Second,
How do we get the accurate interest rates written after we've already approved it?
well, you have them right now already. They are good for 10 days. The only thing in question is what the fee would be for the second line of credit. And it's a legitimate question. And I can see that you're absolutely right. I just want to get this done.
You
So
know,
we have a motion and a second.
you guys, it says it right here. It's 1% of the total line or 1,500. So it's not going to be 1% of 500,000.
It says either, it
It
says
doesn't
or.
say whichever's
we're
lower.
not sure what the answer is. That's what's on the table, Tanya, is that nobody's 100% sure, and we don't have a confirmation from the bank.
But
And
it's-
that's what I think the hope is.
But the
Yeah,
motion
and
is
let's get that
conti-
confirmation. I'm pretty sure they think, I think it's going to be 1,500.
the motion is contingent on it not exceeding $1,500.
Yeah, let's keep going around the table.
Kate, you want to call roll?
Yes. Steve Carell,
Yes.
Andrew Dewar,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
No.
Scott Papich,
No.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
All right.
That's 6 yeses and 2 nos.
So, Kate, will you be emailing everyone the correct interest rates?
Thank you all very much. And Scott, I will do my best to get the most accurate information I can and get it to you tomorrow if I can. And then if you have questions, let's you and I
Ron,
communicate together aside.
Yeah,
make
Ron, I
sure
need you to send that
I've
to
got
me,
everything
please.
that you want.
Ron,
Ron, I need you to send me that information as well. I need the inform whatever the bank tells you tomorrow. I need that information as well.
yes, it should go to Kate, and then Kate should send it to all of the board
Happy
members.
to share it with everybody.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for working through that. Other okay, Kate,
Nope.
next week.
No, we still have one more action item.
Yes. Excellent. Christmas lights. NDDA. So this was prepared by Barb, who's not here. And Kate, do you want to take the lead on this, or do you want me to read it?
Sure. Yeah, no, I can do that. So annually, the town of Nederland does a tree lighting event, and in the past, the DDA has participated in various ways. This year, in talking with town about ways that we could participate, a request for about $200 for hot chocolate and other treats for the event was received. Just so that you know, we have $1,573.75 available in special event funding. And so the question is, does the NDDA board approve funding for the Christmas lighting event?
So just so that I'm clear, there's a $1,500 available special event funding budget.
Yes.
And we're being asked so far just to contribute $200 for hot chocolate and treats.
Yes. And it might not even end up being that much, but that was what the town thought that last year, that they weren't able to provide as much as they had hoped, and that they thought that we could be helpful in that way for that event.
I move we approve $200 for Christmas tree or whatever Christmas light event hot chocolate fund.
I don't think anyone has
Second.
any issues with this, but I'm technically supposed to say, public comment or anyone.
Yeah. Public comment.
Any public comment on this? Okay, anyone have anything they'd like to discuss about this?
No, this is Steve Carreau. I'm all for getting a motion going and all that, but I would like to say that I would just plea with the town to not use styrofoam this year when they're handing out treats and hot beverages.
Okay. Okay, I'll ask them about that. We'll ask that they ask. Yes.
Yeah, I think it might have been
I would second that.
a last minute snafu or something, but because I know town isn't into that, but
Totally.
somehow it was all served in
Exactly, but
styrofoam.
I will
We could
follow
even
up
make
with
it
Peter.
contingent. This money is contingent
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
That's
eco products.
That's exactly it.
Styrofoam purchased with our money.
Our money could go to offset those costs, because like I said, they weren't sure that they would even use that much, but maybe that's a way we can help make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve funding for the Christmas lighting event with the request of the town using reusable or compostable eco product type hot chocolate containers.
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna call the roll. Steve Carreau,
Yes, thank you.
Barb Hart, or whoops, sorry, Andrew Duarte,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
I'm sorry, I missed your discussion. My phone dropped out, so I will abstain.
Didn't hear much of that, Ron, but
his
My phone
phone,
crapped
he said
out.
his,
I've missed about 5 minutes of the meeting,
okay.
so I'm going to abstain on the vote. I
Okay.
couldn't hear anything.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Pappage,
Yes.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great. Well, I think that, what do we have next here? The Kate, Executive Director report.
Oh, no, we're done with the information items. We're actually done with the full agenda. We're on to other
We're
business
on
now.
to other business. Okay. Any other business out there? I think, one thing, knowing that the monthly work sessions, and Barb brought that up, and we're tabling it for next month, but just to ask everyone to be thinking of projects, in line with our mission that we can bring to the table and work together on, because I feel like we're getting a lot of good things done, and really appreciate everyone being able to work together and work through things and volunteer their time. And I know it's late, so there's no other business. And Kathleen has public comment here. Kathleen, your hand is up only to make sure people see my chat comments in chat. Okay, you say, thank you, Steve, for bringing up the cups, and Andrew asking for public comment earlier. Did not know chat was, yes, you have no mic on your computer. Then that's what you got. Okay, you're welcome, Kathleen. Thank you. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Night.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Andrew.